Welcome back to Living in Infinity. Think we're gonna get today started by talking about some drama happening on X. Surprise, surprise. I actually don't know much about what's going on with this whole block feature being banned, but Alec, if you want to kind of shed some light on it.
Yeah, last week Elon tweeted that they want to remove the block feature. So you can't block anybody on Twitter or X now. I think you still can, but once they add it, obviously it'll be a removed feature. And they just want to emphasize like the mute feature. So I guess the difference for if you're not familiar, like blocking somebody means not only like you can't see any of their tweets, but they also can't see your tweets at all. Whereas if you mute somebody, their tweets just aren't going to show up on your timeline, but they can still see yours and you could still see theirs if you went to their profile manually and looked. Um, and so the basis behind why they're doing this, I think, is they want to just open up discussion more. The block feature definitely has a history of being abused by, I guess, organizations or parties that like want to, they call them block farms. Basically, like a good example of this would be Tesla. So a lot of people that were against Tesla, the company, and that were shorting the stock, they had their block farm of basically anyone that was like pro Tesla, they would block. And so they kind of created their own echo chamber for their ideas and everything. And they want to, and Elon's goal of removing this is he wants to remove that so you're forced to see conversation from both sides of the argument, no matter what it is. Um, which I think is valid and makes sense. But where a lot of the controversy comes from is a lot of people use this feature or use blocking to, I guess they view it as like a safety measure. There's lots of examples that I saw where maybe someone, for example, shares a lot of their political beliefs on Twitter, and there's obviously going to be a lot of people that don't agree with that. There's lots of crazy people out there in the world, and so I've seen examples of where someone struck a nerve with some crazy person on Twitter, and that crazy person found all their personal information, like their address, their full name, date of birth, everything, phone number, and anytime that they posted, they would just like automatically respond to their tweet with all of their personal information. Um, and the only way that you could prevent something like that was to block them. That way, they are no longer going to be able to spam your tweets with whatever it is that they're posting. And I don't know where I stand on it. I see both sides of it. Even with all of the controversy, Elon has been very stern on the fact that he wants to remove it and is still going to remove it. And he's basically made it clear by saying like, you're going to see how it's a whole lot better. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Like, do you even bother blocking people on Twitter? Have you used that feature at all? Or like, do you see it as a problem that's going to be removed?
Nope. No, I agree with the thought behind it. Um, and I guess regarding the issue of like being doxxed or whatever, I mean, like let's say it tweets, you want to block an account. It seems like the solution would be for X to just set up some sort of pathway for you to like like have them check out that account. Um, and then maybe they can block it. So it's just like if they can do that effectively, then I think everybody's problems are solved, and it's probably not that big a deal.
Yeah. I think the doxing example is an extreme example because it's probably illegal on some grounds to do that, or it's against um, Twitter's terms of service to do that. So if you were to report them, they'd probably be banned. But I guess there's some sort of, time period between you actually reporting them and them getting banned. It could be several days, for example. So if they're just spamming all of your tweets with information that you don't want other people to see, it definitely becomes a problem. Now that's more of an extreme example, but
Well,
what a lot
let
of
like
people are,
they could probably have some sort of automatic, just like okay, you get doxxed, you report that tweet. Um, I would say they should just go ahead and automatically like write that in there, whatever, shut that Twitter down who did the doxing and then review it. I think that seems fair, just to prevent
Yeah,
any immediate
that
threat.
could work. Yeah, I could see that working. Well, what a majority of people use the block feature for really is just like, oh, you responded to something of my, or you responded to one of my tweets with an idea that I don't agree with. I'm just going to block you.
Right.
Um, and that's not the right way to go about it if you want to create this platform of like open discussion from all sides and it's supposed to be equal. Um, I don't know. I think if they are going to do this, they definitely need to at least step up the moderation side, I guess, as far as like banning accounts that are harassing people, like actually breaking either the law or Twitter's terms of service. Um, but
I would say it
overall,
has
I
to be
mean,
the law. Twitter's terms of service, I guess, can get subjective, or like it could. I don't know.
yeah,
Seems like those rules could be arbitrary, but if it's the law, like I think that would be a better situation.
yeah. But like the doxing example, I don't know if it's illegal to do that. Like maybe this, like if you find someone's first and last name, I'd imagine you can find their address and phone number from public records that are just online, right? Maybe it's very hard to find, but it's probably out there somewhere. And so I still don't agree with like being able to just like spam somebody's tweets with their personal information when they don't want that being shared, whether or not it is available online publicly. Like, I
Yeah,
still think, there's probably, but that might not be illegal. I don't know. But I think
yeah, that is
it'll
interesting.
just, it'll be a little dicey.
Right? Yeah, I don't know if it is actually illegal to dox or not. It's definitely shitty.
Hmm.
It's a shitty move, but is it
Yeah.
illegal? I don't know. It's maybe it's technically lawful, but awful.
Right. And I saw too, like, I guess harassment would be another example. Like I don't think online harassment is illegal in any kind of capacity, but it's
What do you mean by
probably against,
what do you mean by harassment?
like, another example I saw was this girl that was getting harassed by this one guy who would respond to all of her tweets with just like a bunch of derogatory stuff, calling her names. Like every single time that she posted, that guy was always like blowing up her replies with a bunch of stuff, like just really hateful things. That probably isn't illegal, but I think it probably is against Twitter's terms of service as far as I know, because you can report people for harassment. But
Yeah. So, yeah. So maybe that's a pathway. What if, um, okay, so like let's say it gets bad enough where you can make a court case for like a restraining order. I don't know. To my knowledge, I don't think restraining orders like apply to the online world. So what if we kind of made that a thing? Like you can't be within 500 physical feet of this person and you cannot interact with them via social media.
um,
Could be an interesting,
yeah,
could be a possible solution.
yeah, I think that would be really hard to enforce because you could do things online anonymously quite easily.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
but I don't know. I think a lot of these issues that were being drawn up, it's kind of the case where like, yeah, it is problematic, but the amount of people that are going to be affected by this, it's probably like a very, very small percentage. Um, Whereas overall, it's probably going to do more good than harm to remove the block feature. But people were definitely not happy about this. I mean, I think out of the people that I follow on Twitter, a lot of them are like pro Elon, pro Twitter people, and I think I saw maybe one person who was like on Elon's side on this. Everybody else was like, you should rethink this decision to like remove the block feature. Um, and usually when Elon makes a change this drastic and gets a lot of bad feedback, he'll kind of revert because at the end of the day, Twitter's a product that he's building for people, and like he wants to do whatever's best for the success of the product. But in this particular instance, he was very set on like he's like, no, just trust me, you'll see, it's way better. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think it's definitely worth a try for
Yeah,
sure.
That's probably what will end up happening. Like, maybe there's like a pilot period of removing it for like a month or so, see how it goes, see if people actually still care or not, and then if anything really bad does come of it, then figure it out from there. But,
Yeah. Yeah, I think at the end of the day too, like, I don't know, it's almost like people have to willingly choose to have two-way discussions. So, like, even if he does put this in place, like, there probably will still be a way for these people who don't wanna hear other opinions to not hear them. So maybe it just won't
yeah,
be overall that productive.
um, you cut out.
Yeah. And just my point is may
You're
maybe he
back.
just won't achieve his whatever goal. People will still be able to
Yeah,
have one-way conversations. So
yeah. Well, I think like they won't be forced to engage in both-sided arguments or anything. Like you could still mute somebody if you want, and you're not going to see their tweets. But I think the whole goal of it, which I agree with, is like for other people on the platform, it keeps the discussion neutral. Like if I tweet on one side of the political spectrum and then all of the replies are from the other side, and then there's like this third party that's viewing that tweet, they're going to see arguments on both sides. Whereas if you were to block somebody on the other side before, they can't see your tweets, they can't respond to it. So you don't even
so
give them a chance to like put an idea on the opposite side.
okay, so you're saying I guess I just want to clarify how this works. So let's say I tweet something, taking like a whatever a stance, and I mute a person who tweets against it. It's just me that won't see that comment, but other people can still see that comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you mute somebody, you can't see their tweets aren't going to show up anymore, but everybody else can still see their tweets and they still have the ability to respond to your tweets. Whereas if you were to block somebody, they can't visit your profile at all. They can't see your profile at all. They can't respond to your tweet entirely. So it like blocks not only you out from the opposite view, but also everybody else that engages with your tweets too.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I don't know. It just in theory sounds good.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, I think people definitely blew it out of proportion a little bit. Like there was a lot of backlash on this, and some of it I think is warranted, but in reality, we don't know until we actually try it. Like I think that's kind of Elon's stance on it as well. Like he has this idea that it's going to be way better. Well, okay, let's try it, see how it goes, and then if it turns out that it's not better for the platform, then he'll kind of reverse on it. But I think like I said before, I think the benefits that come of this will outweigh the harm for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Hopefully that's the case. It'd be cool if this works.
Mm. Yeah, moving on from that, another topic that I kind of wanted to talk about, kind of on the subject of Twitter still. Have you seen all of these tweets lately about like pictures of the Cybertruck? They're kind of being spotted all across the country, really. I mean, my timeline's filled with them, but I follow a lot of Tesla people. I'm just curious if it like kind of ventured over to your side at all.
Mhm. No, no, I think I saw a picture of one like forever, like probably a couple months ago, but that's it.
Yeah. Uh, well, they're starting to actually produce them, and at least in limited quantities. And I don't know why. Nobody seems to know why, but they're shipping them all across the country. There's dozens of them at this point. Um, and what I think is so cool about this is like the amount of reach and exposure that Tesla is getting from just like a couple dozen trucks that are just like being shipped around the country is absurd. Like anytime, like there's people that are just like randomly on the highway, they'll see a truck filled with like 4 Cybertrucks on the trailer, and they'll swap pictures or videos of it and then post them, and then they go viral.
Hmm.
It's like this truck is literally like it's a mobile billboard, basically. Like everywhere it goes is an advertisement for Tesla, and um, I don't know. I just think it's really cool, and like I kind of wanted to. I think people are really like underestimating the importance of this truck for Tesla as a company. Like I've been a follower of Tesla for several years now, an investor in the company. Um, and I think a lot of people, when they see this or when they originally saw this truck, they're like, that thing is ugly. There's no way people are ever going to buy that. I mean, that was my initial reaction too. Like,
Same.
I think I've told you before, like I watched the event when they first revealed it. I watched it live and I genuinely thought it was a joke. I was like, that's just like a marketing stunt. It's a joke. They're going to bring out the real truck after this. And they never did. That was the truck. So, but since then it's like, it's grown on me. And I think the pre-order numbers kind of speak for itself. Like the numbers aren't public, but there's like these online, I guess, trackers for how many pre-orders there are. Like people can submit their reservation number because they're sequential. So if you put in your reservation number, it can kind of calculate, how many reservations have been made. And it's like, I think it's almost at 2 million now, which
Dang.
is insane. There's never been a vehicle with this number of pre-orders, not even close. Um, Granted, it is like it's $100 to pre-order, so it's a very small deposit, and there's no way that all of those convert into like actual orders. But even if it's half, like that's a million just off the pre-orders alone. It's absurd. Um, so I just think it's cool to see a company of that size like create something that is just so outside of the normal for trucks. Like all trucks have looked the same for the most part for decades. And then to make something this crazy and stick with it, it's just, yeah, it's nuts to me.
Yeah. I, it's hard to even fathom that Elon got. I mean, obviously, like he controls Tesla and can make it do whatever he wants, I guess. But like, it's amazing nobody talked him out of it because it is just such a weird concept.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
not only to see him stick with it, but to see it be successful, it's just like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's still, I'm trying to wrap my head around like actually seeing these on the road because it doesn't look real. It looks like something out of a video game. Um, and I had the opportunity to see one in person last year in the annual shareholder meeting at their factory or their headquarters, in Austin. And seeing it in person, it's like that thing, it just looks like one of those, like, car companies, they'll make some like crazy prototype or like concept vehicle and it just never gets made. Like they just kind of do it as like marketing or whatever. Like, oh, look at this. This is what we could make. And it looks all cool and everything. And then when the actual full version of the car comes out, it's like this neutered version of it, basically, that it looks nothing like the prototype. Um, that's basically what I thought this would kind of be. Like they make this crazy version of it as like an initial marketing stunt or whatever, and then they're going to make some changes to it. It's going to look way different on the actual production version, but like it pretty much looks exactly the same to
Yeah.
what they initially revealed that day.
There is a slight difference I've noticed. But I don't know how to describe it. It Like, it looks more like a normal truck than I thought it would. Not to say that it looks like a normal truck at all, but
Mhm.
it does look more normal than what I thought it would, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's still like a very large bed. Like it's still very obviously, a truck.
Mm,
Um, but I think the main difference of what it was when they initially announced it, it's maybe I think slightly smaller. Um, like when the one that I saw at their factory, it was like one of the initial prototypes. It doesn't. There's no way that thing would fit in a garage. At least like a normal size garage. You would need a bigger one because like it's so long, um, and it's really wide too. It's like that thing. in a standard 2-car garage, I genuinely don't think that it would fit, at least that version of it. But
Mhm.
the newer, I guess, production version of it, I think it's maybe maybe like 6 inches shorter or something. So theoretically, it should fit. I can't imagine they would make a truck that wouldn't fit in a normal garage. Like, there's no way they would make a decision that stupid, you know?
Right.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm excited to see it actually out on the roads. And I think
Do you know
this is going to be,
can you
uh,
talk about some of its, like, performance, um, abilities? I mean, it's supposed to be, like, a lot more powerful than your normal truck, right?
yeah, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I do know that its towing capacity is supposed to be more than like whatever the top version of the F-150 is, which that's kind of like the standard for trucks. Like that's the best selling truck, um, basically since it came out. Like everyone compares to the F-150. Um, yeah, the towing capacity is supposed to be more than that. It's an electric truck, so it's obviously going to be as fast as a Ferrari, basically. Um, yeah, like imagine that thing going 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So
Um,
I wonder, like, its off-road capability, can you, um,
mhm,
I don't know, just my theory is you have a truck, you're gonna beat on it and just kinda kinda drive it like an animal, but, have fun with it, and, like,
yeah,
I'm just imagining that thing on, like, a hilly, bumpy, rocky dirt road, just
mhm,
that'd be awesome,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah. And you don't have to worry about like paint scratches or anything either. Like that's another wild part about it is the shell of the vehicle. Usually they would paint over that, you know? Like they don't just make the shell the vehicle itself. So that alone saves them like I would imagine several $1,000s per vehicle because they don't have to they don't have to buy all the equipment to paint it. They don't have to buy all the paint itself. Um, it's just stainless steel exterior. So that I mean, I'd imagine like people are gonna have them. They're just gonna be super banged up and scratched up, and I would think it would still look good because like it's just steel, you know. It just looks rugged. Um,
That is brilliant. I can't believe yeah, I guess I can't believe that hasn't been done before.
I think their goal with it is right now the exterior of it. It's stamped in like 2 or 3 different pieces. Um, their goal with it, I think, is to the entire exterior is going to be stamped in one piece, the same way you would stamp like a Matchbox car.
Mhm.
For the efficiency for producing them when they actually get to that level, obviously, should be dramatic. Like they literally want to make normal sized cars in the same way that you would make the little Matchbox cars, where they can make millions of them per day, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
How does that, the doors, how would that work with the doors? I mean, I don't
well, the
really know.
doors, I think, like it's like the exoskeleton that is being stamped in one piece. And so then it would have no doors. It would just be hollow. And then you would
Yeah,
just
that
attach the doors to it and the final process of putting it together. But yeah, it's just I find cool engineering stuff like that just like fascinating because no one ever thinks it's car companies don't really think outside of the box like that. They've kind of been stuck in their ways for 100 years now, and then Tesla comes along and there's like let's scrap all of that and just do it our own way on what makes the most sense from like a physics and engineering standpoint.
yeah.
Um,
To me, that's like sounds like it's just as big of a revolution or, innovation as, Ford's assembly line. That's kinda what it
yeah,
brings to my mind.
yeah, because they're basically rethinking the entire assembly line. Like their cars are thousands and thousands of parts, and they're like, well, that's just not efficient. Why don't we make it like the least amount of parts as possible? You need one machine to put together the entire body of the car, and then you just put all the pieces on top of it afterwards. Like, it just makes so much more sense. I think that goes to show, like, you can say what you want about Elon as a person or what your thoughts are on his political beliefs or whatever, but he has a very strong and reputable history at this point of like going into whatever industry he wants to and completely revolutionizing and changing the entire industry. I mean, look at SpaceX. We've had NASA for probably 100 years at this point. SpaceX has been around for 15, 20, and they are by far and large, like they've done way more than what NASA had previously. Like they're by far the leading space company by a massive margin. Um, you look at Tesla, they are by far the leader in electric vehicles and soon to be the leader in all vehicles in general. Um, it's just, it doesn't make sense in my head how someone can operate that high of efficiency, you know? Like
Mhm.
usually you have somebody like you have Bezos, he comes in and revolutionizes e-commerce. Like they're very one dimensional. But I think Elon has been one of the only entrepreneurs in history that at least I can think of that is able to do that time and time again across several different industries.
Yeah, I wonder if you were to compare his intelligence to, the Bezos or Zuckerberg, like, I wonder if it's strictly he's just, like, has more intelligence than them, or maybe it's some other way his brain functions, but, yeah, to go into multiple industries and make successful innovations within those is incredible. It's just it's fascinating he can, like, grasp the concept and then figure out ways to improve it. Yeah. Which, I mean, like,
Yeah.
that alone is I guess, the same process, but, um, yeah, when you take it and apply it in different ways, like, that's, yeah, incredible.
And because it's not only like from the business perspective, it's not only engineering. It's also like he is recruiting or he's finding the smartest people, the smartest engineers and business operators to come and work for him to build these companies. Like it's not just him. Like obviously there's Tesla has over 100,000 employees. SpaceX has like, I don't know, like 10,000 or something. Like he employs well over 100,000 people across all of his ventures. And so it's one thing to like lead the tech side, but also be able to just like delegate properly and build these large of companies without and still maintain that high level of innovation. That is also a feat itself that doesn't make sense. Like, and we see companies like, you know, Meta or Amazon or Apple, like once they get to a certain level, they don't innovate in the same way that they used to because the companies become so bureaucratic across all the levels, you know, where that doesn't happen with Elon's companies. Like he's still like leading the helm as in the same way you would a startup with like 10 people.
Mhm. Yeah, I wonder if there's, like, a political connection to this. So I think maybe a pattern in history is you have the rise of a civilization to where it operates really well. Like you could say that with Rome or Greece or America. Like it starts out on a good foundation, and that foundation allows it to kind of just trend upward in a great direction. But then these civilizations kind of like plateau, um, probably in a similar manner to how you described like Facebook and Amazon or whatever. Like they just get settled in their ways, they become bureaucratic, and then you see this downfall and the cycle repeats itself. I wonder if there's some sort of lesson to learn from Musk that we can apply to prevent that. Like, do we always kind of have to run our civilizations in a with the mindset of like we're creating something new, or like we're really, we're like, do we should we be willing to like risk its downfall for um, to test new ideas, and maybe that allows it to keep being better, getting better, whatever.
Yeah. I think it's just a nature of like, obviously the bigger things are, the harder they are to control and manage. I mean, we see that with our government, right? Like, I'm not super well versed in, you know, politics and how our government operates, but as far as I know, like the size of our government today is like much, much larger than it used to be, say, 100 years ago, right?
Yep.
And yeah, and so, and now we see, I think the inefficiencies in our government today are probably just a result of that size, about how many people there are that you have to convince to do things, like the mass amount of delegation that's being done, all the loops that you have to go through. There's also way more laws now than there used to be. And as there's more laws and more people in the government, it just gets harder to do things. It gets harder to get for things to get done.
Yeah. So in a sense, like that growth of the government, um, in it's like an indirect whatever. The bigger the government, the less voice the person has, the people have. Um,
Yeah.
I think that certainly seems to be true. You probably saw that with Trump a little bit. Like, um, he probably got elected. He did get elected with the idea of like doing all these things, and there are certainly things he didn't get to, and probably just because of that effect of how many wheels had to turn. Um, so like not that's not an argument for Trump, but um, yeah, I think it's just a general testament to like you get a big government, it's gonna be hard to have a say in what goes on.
Yeah. And to me, like these things seem so obvious, and yet our government is either completely oblivious to it, or they are aware of it and just don't really care. Um, like to me, it makes the most sense. Like the smaller the government, the better. Like it's very clear that as as the government continues to grow, things get way less efficient. We spend money way less efficiently. Like these things are just obvious. People are aware of these things too, and it seems like there's really no um, priority within the government itself to like counteract these things. It's just like more money, more taxes, more people to get bigger. Um,
Yeah.
at
Uh,
a certain point, that's things are going to start. I mean, things are breaking, I think, but as we get bigger, bigger things are going to break. You know?
yeah. Yeah, the growth of the government is probably mostly done um, out of the interest of those in the government or those who have contracts with the government. That certainly seems to be the case. Um, One thing I know about Vivek Ramaswamy, I think I said that right. Yeah, he's very
Is it
adamant that
Vivek or Vivek? I don't know how to pronounce it.
he tweeted Vivek as in cake.
Interesting. Okay,
So
Vivek.
I think it's Vivek.
Okay.
But yeah, he's very adamant about making large cuts with it within the government. Um, which yeah, I think is a good thing. Also, I will send it to you. It's fantastic. There is a candidate, I guess, running for president in Argentina, and there's a hilarious video. Somebody asked him like, "What are you gonna do when you get elected?" And he has this like string set up, and on it are a bunch of pieces of paper that have the different like executive departments of the government or whatever. So you have like
Mhm.
your DMV, your Homeland Security, your Department of Education, whatever, all those. And he just goes one by one. I think he only leaves like two up, but he just goes, uh, like destroy, destroy, destroy. And he's super spastic and crazy, and it's really funny. But yeah, it's true. It's just they're
Yeah.
like just gargantuan waste of money, and for what? Uh, a lot of times it seems like it's a gargantuan waste of money for nothing.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on 5 as a whole, at least from what you've seen so far?
Seems um good. I want to like him. I think I do like him. I just am concerned about his background um a little bit. Like I just don't know him, and I'm worried he's just riding the populist wave to get elected. Like I'm just kind of worried he's telling us what we want to hear to get into power. Um so that's my
Yeah.
only reservation. I saw like he did an internship back in the day with a uh like a George Soros related company, and like that seems a little sketchy. You know, he's like comes from the pharmaceutical industry. So I mean, like those aren't deal breakers, but I would just like to know more.
Yeah. I think everything that I've seen from him, at least ideologically, it seems solid. Um, my only issue with him, and this is really my issue with any politician, I really just don't like the way he speaks. Like, to me, it just screams posturing. Like he is trying to be something he's not and sound a way that is not genuine to him, and it does not seem authentic to me at all. And a lot of politicians do this. They speak in this certain manner, and I personally I can't stand it. I can't stand it because it's like, but it seems
I
to work though.
what I think what might be happening is he is just speaking to the platform. So like maybe you're catching him on these political like rallies or talk shows or whatever, where you might kind of like that just is the most effective way to talk. I'll send you the link. He did an episode with Jordan Peterson. He hopped on his podcast. I think that would be the true test. Like if you still get the posturing vibe from that episode, then maybe that's just what he's doing. But I have a hunch. I haven't watched it. I'll check it out as well. I have a hunch. Maybe he's a little more genuine on that platform. Maybe a little more willing to like dive deeper into his philosophies there. Jordan, I know Jordan seems to like. I mean, he tweeted out like
Yeah,
pretty good things about him. So
yeah,
I would say that's probably the case. But I mean, you're right, and I think that's something that's underrated when it comes to Trump. I've now seen like I watched a little bit of his Carlson interview, and I watched back in the day he did one with Dave Portnoy, and
yeah,
he can in those circumstances just come across as really genuine, and you're like, man, that's just you're just like that's just a normal guy. Um, so
yeah. I think I've definitely seen a lot of instances where Trump will do the same thing. I think like I did watch the Portnoy interview when that came out. Um, I did watch him on Tucker Carlson as well. He still has all of his like Trumpisms, I guess. Um, but they seemed more relaxed and genuine. Um, I didn't watch the Carlson episode with 5H. I saw some clips of it, just very short clips, and he still had that same demeanor. Uh, to me, it just seemed like he was posturing. Um, the only person I've really seen that just seems like a relaxed person that like actually it comes off way more authentic is RFK. Um, and I say all of this stuff with like I don't keep up with politics at all. The only stuff that I see really is like just clips that are online. Um, I'm not even talking about the substance of what like their ideas. It's really just like who they are as a person. That's what I'm focused on. Um, so just want to put that out there because I'm really not a political person at all. But I just wish that we would have like a very normal seeming presidential candidate. It's just like this is just a normal guy that means well. Um, just like seems very authentic when they speak. I haven't gotten that vibe from like anybody really. And I
yeah,
think
Um, yeah, I think that's fair. Like I said, I've seen hints of that from Trump, probably not enough to for me to be sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, he's good, good guy." But like I've
Yeah.
definitely seen hints of it. It's kind of the same with RFK, seen hints of it there, but I just haven't watched enough with him. I think one step that would be very beneficial in determining the character of Trump would be if Rogan had him on, which I've heard he's think, but I understand Rogan why he might be hesitant to do that, but I really think like whether it goes good or bad, like that would be just a great opportunity for us all to judge Trump a little bit better as a person. Um, yeah, I think that needs to happen.
I think it'd be cool if all of them did, really, because uh, I think just that platform and also Rogan himself, like he's not gonna let you be fake on there. Like he's act like you
Yeah,
can say what you want about Rogan. Personally, I love the guy and his platform, but he's not gonna allow you to like talk about things that seem disgenuine, or if you're saying a certain idea or belief, he wants you to back it up with facts. Like he's not gonna let you just kind of he's not just giving you a platform to do your political spiel and get exposure from it. Like he genuinely wants to get to the core of like what it is you're saying and what you believe. So I would I would like to see that too. And I think it's just cool in general to see the presidential candidates like spending way more time on social media, talking to people directly, as opposed to like the traditional routes, like going on CNN or doing like the debates. Like I didn't watch the debate, but I can't imagine that many people do watch them still. Like I, at least compared to what it used to be. Whereas you see the Trump interview on Carlson that has almost 250 million views, and it was published yesterday. Like that is mind blowing. That's mind
that
blowing.
really is.
Granted, it's probably not 250 million individual people, but even if you say, you know, even if 10% watched it, that's 25 million people. I guarantee you not that 25 million people did not watch the debates on the traditional news. Not even close to it. Not even
Yeah,
close.
yeah, yeah. You're probably dead right. It's it's a fantastic aspect of the internet. Um, yeah, I I wished it had been like this for 30 years. And uh, like I still would say, we're in that transition away from traditional media to the internet, and so I just think um, it's only going to get better in terms of that direct interaction between us and the candidates. And I'm personally just like super stoked. Uh,
Yeah, for sure. I think this will probably be the first election that I like somewhat keep up with, just because I am kind of curious to see how things shake out. Like there's just so much, I guess, drama right now. Like with the Trump arrest, um, I want to see what happens with Biden. I mean, to me, it seems like the dude can hardly walk. Like, how is he going to run for president again? How is he still operating as a president? I don't know. It's probably whoever his team is that's kind of pulling all the strings there. But like, I just want to see how things shake out, you know?
yeah, I would just say like the establishment Democrats, like not including RFK, they have the work cut out because they're flooded. I think like if Vivek is the real deal with this Trump, uh, with these Trump indictments, they're backfiring. It seems like. I mean, his popularity I think is only going to increase, especially with his mugshot going around, and you got RFK now, kind of splitting the Democrats. Like we saw that like Woody Harrelson, who's been a big Democrat his whole life. He just went and came out as like a supporter of RFK. So he's splitting the votes there. Like I think if this election goes fairly, which I'm not convinced it will, But if it does, like, I just still see a way we don't end up with a Vibe 8 Trump or K ticket. I mean, not obviously not all of them in the office together, but one of those, like, it just seems like this is the time where we have, yeah, someone who is hopefully at least semi-legit win.
Yeah, I would hope so, and I think am I right in saying that Vivek is not like because I saw this clip going around where at the debate, he said that he's not, I forgot the way he worded it, but he basically said he's not, bought out by all of the, I guess, the media or whatever. Um, so he seems very independent in the sense of, like, he's not getting
In the in the way that Trump was in 16 and, I mean, has been. That's
okay, yeah.
yeah.
So I wasn't sure, like, does that, like, basically guarantee him that he's not going to win because he's not taking the support from people that are, like, pulling the strings?
Maybe, but, like, in 16, that it certainly worked in Trump's favor because he could come say what needed to be said, um,
Mhm.
and, uh, and it worked well for him, um, so, no, I think that's to me, that's a positive thing that Vivek has going on.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I think it's positive too. I'm just curious, like, does that,
right.
like, how corrupt really is our government in the sense of, like, if you don't take the support, there's basically no chance that you're going to win. But I didn't know that, like, Trump was kind of an example of that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think he definitely set the precedent that it can't be done at 16.
Okay, cool. Well, coming close to our stop time, is there any other topics that you wanted to throw in the last couple of minutes before we wrap things up?
No, no, think I'm good.
Okay, cool. Um, Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next week with some new topics, and yeah, we'll see you then.